I've always loved books. Old books, new books, classic books, modern bestsellers, children's books, books of short stories, funny books, scary books. It's something I did all the time as a child, more than anything else that I enjoyed. But as an adult, I do read every day, but it's quickly in between waiting for appointments or while I'm on a bus or just before I go to sleep. So I decided to choose a day and put it in my calendar and do absolutely nothing but read, starting with a trip to my local library. Hello lovelies, I thought I would just share with you my little outfit of the day for my reading weekend. So I have two new pieces. This cardigan is from ASOS, the brand is JDY. I really like this scallop detail, and then I'm wearing it over a dress also from ASOS. It's a black tea dress. I need to put like a little stitch here because it keeps showing my bra, but it is just ASOS design, I think. And then I've just got flip-flops on. I had to throw away my slippers because they were literally falling to pieces. In fact, I think they had fallen apart. So I've just been flip-flopping around the house. But I really like how this looks. The dress itself, like on its own, I don't think is that nice, but as soon as you put something over the top of it, I feel like it's quite a nice, casual, yet polished outfit, which is my favourite thing. I have something fun to share with you today. I have been, if you can't tell, book shopping. So I have been on my favourite used book website, World of Books, and I have treated myself to a little book haul. And they are not all used. One of them is new. So I'm going to take you through what I bought from there, and I'm going to start with the real bargain. This is a really lovely copy of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Now obviously the film is iconic. I don't know much about the book. Often with these really iconic films, they've actually changed them quite a lot from the source material, so whether the film is really similar to the book, I don't know. But I've been reading little snippets of it whenever I've been in Waterstones thinking about buying this book, and it does look really, really good. It's this little cloth-bound classic edition, and I just love them. I think they're so cute. And like I said, every time I've been in Waterstones, I've picked this up and I thought, oh, I really want this. And I managed to find it for about £1.50 cheaper on World of Books, and it's actually brand new, which is really, really exciting. But can I just say, it should be illegal to put labels on books, because there was a label on the back of this and I've peeled it off and it's left like this mark here. It's so annoying. And some of the other books I peeled labels off and they just did not come off very well, so I'm so annoyed. Okay, this one, I have a confession, I didn't buy this from World of Books. I was going to, and it was actually the one I was most excited to purchase, but when I went to check out, it was out of stock. So I actually went to the Works and I picked it up for £5, so it's a brand new book for £5. I mean, that is such a bargain. My friend Katie has been reading this. She says it's really good and it keeps popping up on my Kindle recommended, so I've been looking at it for a while. So it's about this couple who've been together for years and they have this tradition where they go away with their friends to a cottage and spend the week together. They've actually broken up, but they've not told anyone, and it's the last year that they're all going to be able to stay in this cottage because it's being sold. So they decide to go and just pretend they're still together and just have one last lovely holiday together. But I imagine it probably won't be that lovely for them because they've broken up. And I imagine that hilarity will ensue, but it just looks like such a good beach read. I may save this for when I am actually on the beach on my holiday this year, but yeah, I think it's a really pretty cover and it just looks like a lovely light fluffy read that I'm very much looking forward to. Jack, are you making noise? No. Are you sure? If I do this when you're recording, you get angry. I get angry too. No, it doesn't.
I'll be quiet.
You be quiet. You close that door. This next book I'm actually a little bit disappointed with. I thought it was going to be a hardback and I didn't realise that it's my own fault, I didn't check, but I didn't realise that these Penguin English Library editions came in paperback and I just don't think it's as pretty. And that's fine, like I have books that I don't particularly like the cover but I'm interested in reading the story, but I have read this one before. So really I wanted just a nice copy for my bookshelf, so I'm a little bit disappointed, but I do look forward to rereading the book. So this is Lady Audley's Secret by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, and if you like Jane Eyre, I think you will like this. It was written around the same time and it has very similar plot points and it's very sensationalist style. Like I remember reading this years ago and it was like a bit of a page turner, which is unusual for fiction written like in the olden days. Like they can be enjoyable but they're not always page turnery, but I remember this being like really like, oh, I must know what happens next. So I am looking forward to rereading that one and I would definitely recommend it if you're a fan of Jane Eyre. Then we have The Phone Box at the Edge of the World. So this I think is a little bit before the coffee gets cold vibes. It's like magic realism, is that what they call it? I don't know. But it is about someone who they've lost their family in a tsunami and they are obviously grieving and they hear about a man who has at the bottom of his garden a magical telephone box. And I imagine what's going to happen is that they're going to speak to their lost loved ones through this telephone box, which sounds very, very interesting, and it's the sort of fiction that I've been getting quite into recently. So I'm looking forward to reading that one. I did actually find out after I ordered it that I could have read it for free on my Kindle with Prime Reading, but it is nice to have a physical book, so I'm not too disappointed, and it wasn't a lot of money anyway. This one I am very excited for, fittingly. It's called Exciting Times, and I first noticed this in a bookshop and I really regretted not buying it at the time. Like on the train home I was like, oh, I really wish I'd bought that book, so I decided to pick it up from World of Books. It's just very like David Nicholls vibes. If you've read One Day or seen the TV show, I feel like it's that style of writing. I know it's been compared to Normal People by Sally Rooney as well, which I have read, and I just feel like it's that kind of vibe. Like it's kind of realistic love story and very similar writing to those sort of books as well, and it's about someone who is on, I think, a gap year in Hong Kong, and she stays at her friend's flat, her friend Julian, and there's obviously like a will they won't they thing going on there, I think. And yeah, it just looks very interesting. I don't know if you can tell, but I don't actually know a lot about these books, but I've just sort of read little snippets and gone, oh, that looks good. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this one because the little bits that I have read I found quite funny, quite witty, quite observational. Speaking of witty observational writing. I picked up a book by one of my favourite authors, Leanne Moriarty. This one's called Three Wishes. I think it's the only one of her books that I've not read. I think she's brilliant. She's a crime writer, but it's not what I would call traditional crime, like thriller style writing. It's not from the point of view of the detectives or the murderer or whatever. It's usually from multiple points of view, usually with people, family and friends of the victims of whatever crime it is. And often with her books, you don't even know what the crime is until like near the end. If you haven't heard of her, you might have heard of the TV shows that have been based on her books, 9 Perfect Strangers and Big Little Lies. So if you like those, I would definitely recommend picking up some of her books. This one is about 3 triplets, obviously 3 triplets, 3 sisters who are triplets, who I think it starts out, they're at a birthday party and everything kicks off, like they have a massive argument, and then the rest of the book is the events leading up to that argument. So I think it's about like family secrets and some truths that have been revealed and all that sort of stuff. And finally we have At Home with Madame Chic, or Madame Chic. So I've already read Lessons from Madame Chic by Jennifer L. Scott, and this is one of the sequels. I think there's another one as well. I've been meaning to pick it up for ages and just never got around to it. I think this is more of the same, how to kind of be more French, how to be more chic, but with a particular focus on home. I think this might have been born out of lockdown, and I just think they're such pretty covers, and they're a really nice size as well. Like they're hardbacks, but they're quite portable hardbacks, they're quite small. I've loved the first book. I've read it multiple times, so I'm really intrigued to see what she makes of being a little bit more stylish and presentable and poised around the house as well as in everyday life. It's not really a sauce as such.
So what are we doing for dinner, guys? And then David just brought in the dinner.
So I finished OK Days, and I thought I would give you my little mini book review. This has been compared a lot to Normal People by Sally Rooney. I would say that I enjoyed this more. I found Normal People a little bit overrated, and to be honest I can't really remember anything about it now, and it wasn't that long ago that I read it. I thought this was more well written. There were not the whole thing, I mean it was all well written, but it didn't like blow me away, but there were certain lines that I just thought were really, really beautiful, and I just loved the whole vibe of it. I don't really know, I'm not hugely into TikTok and aesthetics, so I don't know exactly what the vibe is I'm thinking of, but I feel like this book has an aesthetic, but I don't know what it is. But it was really good. I would recommend picking it up if you're into romances, but it's not a fluffy romance, it's quite a realistic romance, and I like that. I do like my books to be realistic. I do have the odd fluffy read, but generally I like something with a little bit more substance to it, and I feel like this had some substance, and I just think the cover is so pretty as well. So yeah, I was really, really pleased with that one. I think what I would like to do now is take a bit of a break from reading physical books, and I'm going to put an audiobook on while I do my cross stitch.
When I open my door, I can hear a roaring noise.
And Helen has been watching me. Give me your cardigan, she says. I'd better put it in the wash. My paper memory. It's supposed to stop me forgetting things. I pick up my butter knife and stab it into the black side plate. The china breaks. Helen says something, swearing, I think. I have to pick Katie up in less than half an hour, Helen says, getting her coat on, despite the fact that I'm still finishing my ice cream. I open the door anyway and Helen stops the car with a jerk. What the hell do you think you're doing? She says. Elizabeth wouldn't dream of having them chipped off now. I was always curious about these new houses as a girl, and I remembered this one especially because of the pebbled wall.